G'day guys, Brendan from Adventure Merchants here. I'm super excited to introduce you to this build. We've been working on this one for quite some time now. This is the first of our Wildside builds. This was a complete ground up build that we undertook, so we stripped everything right back, so all the way down to the chassis, which we sandblasted and recoated, and literally took everything back to almost new, or probably better than new condition. So we called it the Wildside after a beach on the coast of Africa where I rocked up and stayed for a night back in my early 20s. But ended up staying for about 4 weeks, just surfing, camping on the beach and drinking beers. It was a pretty good time, and we sort of wanted to encapsulate that freedom and good times in this build, really. A lot of people actually look at this build and they see the roll cage and they instantly think it's a 110 ute or a 130 ute, and they're like, oh, I wish I could do this to my car. But we've actually custom designed this frame. So it started out as a 110 wagon, and we've stripped it right back and turned it into the soft top coupe to get that sort of ute back look, but with a 110 wagon. It came up really well. So yeah, there is quite a bit going on this build. It's a bit of our own design seating inside as well, which I'll run you through in a little bit. But for now, we'll start from the front and show you what we've done up the front interior and in the engine. We wanted to leave the car having a bit of a classic look at the front, so we've customised the face. Basically, body matched the surrounds that we made. So created our own surrounds, got it all matching in colour to suit the grille. We've stuck with a factory type bumper here, so the real classic look. We didn't want anything too over the top or the tubular type ones, or the off-road looking bars. We just wanted a nice, clean, kind of original looking bar, but we could still house the lights and everything. So I just tied the front in real nice, and the Light Force light still gave it a nice kind of off-road look to it. So we've upgraded the indicators and park lights and everything, gives it a nice clean bright look. We've also changed out the factory headlights, because anyone that has driven a Defender knows the factory headlights are not great. So these actually have the laser beam as well as the LED upgrade. These also actually got the DRLs, which gives it a nice clean look, but just a lot more functional as well. So it's definitely a must have in a full Defender rebuild. So yeah, that's kind of what we've gone for, the aesthetics in the front, but also a little bit of upgraded functionality, as well as some custom aluminium powder coated air intakes as well, just to change out the black plastic ones that come with it as well. Ties in the whole front end quite nicely together. Next up, the wheels and suspension. So we chucked a set of the sawtooth rims on them, which I've always quite liked, the factory style sawtooth. They look really nice. All-terrains, the VF Goodrich all-terrains as well, nice and tight. For the suspension upgrade, we've gone with Ride Pro shocks and Dobinson springs. This was done for a mix of functionality and aesthetics. On the underside, we've completely cleaned the chassis, so we stripped it all back, sandblasted and recoated it, pulled the axles apart and completely cleaned those, scrubbed them right back and repainted those as well. The exhaust has all been chromed, so we were really trying to have that clean factory sort of look to it, but just looking a little bit nicer and shinier, which, you know, it's a bit of a rarity with a Defender. Then we'll move up and into the engine. So the engine was quite a big job in itself. We've stuck with the factory TD5 in this build, but the idea being that these builds are available with the V8 Corvette or electric conversions as well. The engine was completely stripped back. It had 600,000 Ks on the clock, and we pulled it right back, acid dipped the engine, full rebuild, bearing seals, the whole works. So it's as close to a new engine as we could get. All the manifolds have been cleaned up and chromed, all the hoses brand new. Pretty much anything that we couldn't replace from new was sandblasted, cleaned right up, repowder coated. So we've sort of got the engine looking quite nice and fresh, which, considering what it looked like when it started, was quite a big job, but I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. A few little touches where we've matched the colours in the logos with the body of the vehicle and stuff like that, just trying to give it a bit of a different look for the engine, because the TD5 is probably one of the best Land Rover engines out there, but it's quite hard to make them look sexy. So we've done what we can to make it look interesting, but pretty happy with the result. Most people have always asked me, you know, what's my dream car? And to be honest, it was always actually a Land Rover. So I bought my first Defender about 15 years ago. But it's really great to be involved in something like this and see a car that was at the end of its lifespan being brought back to new and being turned into a machine like this. So it's one thing I love about them, is you can just renew them, you can put your own personal touch to them, and you can really sort of put your own personality to them. I'm glad to sort of see it come to life. I'm really keen to show you the interior, so let's jump into that. One of the other cool little tweaks we've done our own billet aluminium hinges up here, which just kind of nice and clean compared to the factory looking ones, but very happy with how they turned out. As you can see, we've actually done quite a bit of work to bring this guy back to life. So It was a full respray. All the panels were pulled apart, seat box pulled out, transmission tunnel, everything's been resprayed. So one of the biggest things is the interior seating. So it's all hand-stitched leather. But one of the biggest things was the rear seats in the TD5 Defender are not amazing. They're just a standard bench seat. So we've actually designed and engineered our own seat conversion to be able to use front seats in the back, so turning it into a 4-seater. And this has been designed to work with the factory seats, and we're also releasing it to work with the Recaros and seats of a similar sort. So it just kind of creates that next sort of level comfort, and also just gives it a really unique look as well. A few other upgrades, sort of you got your double din up front, trim the dash with leather, which we didn't go too over the top. You see some of these Defender builds where there's just leather everywhere, which we still wanted to have a bit of a beach vibe to it. So we've left a lot of the bare metal throughout instead of kind of leather and carpet everywhere. But put a lot of the focus in the tan leather that we've used in the seats and the center console. Load lane steering wheel, just to give it a bit of a nicer racing sort of feel to the front. So another good reason we call this thing the Wildside, you can picture driving to the beach on a nice summer's day, or down the south coast along the Sea Cliff Bridge. This is what we had in mind when we built this thing. How good does this look? Chuck the teak deck in the back, which we think really sort of sets it off. So it's a real nice sort of classic kind of yacht deck, but in this car it really ties in that beach vibe. And that sits over the top of our custom-made drawers that we made specifically for this vehicle, which has slide-out bench and a few other bits and pieces in it. We've also designed a custom 60-litre stainless tank which sits under the vehicle and links up to this shower outlet at the back. So you come out of the surf, you're on the beach, you can have a nice freshwater rinse off, jump in the car and hit the road. We've given this nice coupe shape to the roll cage, which we think really sets off the design and the look to it. I've always loved that kind of shape and design you see in some of the old school Ford Broncos in America, the soft top. So I really like that sort of shape, which I've tried to encapsulate in this build here. So you might think this is a one-off build, but the Wildside Edition is available to be built to your custom specifications. You choose the exterior color, the interior trim, the wheels. If you love this car as much as we do, we would love to help build your dream Defender.